bodies, frozen in eerily lifelike poses. And these aren't wax, they're real people being seen by millions in cities across the country. But where did these bodies come from? Who were they before they were put on display? Chilling questions Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross digs into tonight. And we warn you, some of what you're about to see is graphic.
It has become a runaway hit show. Human bodies, skinned, trimmed, and essentially pickled or cured in plastic.
It's a mind blower. Everyone should come see it.
Every vein, muscle, organ, and bone of what was once a real person, carefully preserved in ways that were not possible before.
I was a little leery about coming, and then as I got here, I thought it was fantastic.
The bodies are put on display in a full range of poses. Running with a football, throwing a baseball, shooting a basket. There's even a plasticized pregnant woman, her fetus plasticized too. Here, one body has been filleted, so the bones dance through the muscles.
It doesn't bother me. I'm of the opinion that after you're dead, you're meat.
The body shows, run by two different competing companies, are sweeping the country. From the Las Vegas Strip, to a San Diego shopping mall, to the South Street Seaport in New York City, which has had more than 1.5 million visitors at about $25 a ticket.
We've been in 36, 37 cities, I think, so far. Amazing.
Arnie Geller is the chairman of Premier Exhibitions, which runs the New York show.
It's really been the demand of the public that wants to see the human anatomy.
Geller's company has reported millions of dollars in profits from the exhibitions, involving some 1,000 bodies or body parts.
We've invested a lot of money in our beliefs that this was going to be a great educational program, and if it is successful, then our shareholders will benefit from that.
You're making a good profit here.
And we're absolutely making a good profit, of course.
And when you look at these bodies, do you see anything about that that is upsetting to you or disturbing?
No, not at all.
But with the growing exposure and profits have come growing, troubling questions about the bodies, where they come from, and how they are used.
We've always treated the dead with a certain element of respect, of dignity, and then all of a sudden, we're putting them on display.
Rabbi Louis Feldstein says he was stunned when a body show opened in his hometown, Atlanta.
It's against respect. It's against respect for the life that was lived.
For example, a set of the bodies was featured in the most recent James Bond film, Casino Royale.
Wait here.
The plasticized remains of 3 human beings posed playing poker, all at the request of the film's producers. For Hollywood, a new kind of prop. For Rabbi Feldstein and others, a new kind of lobe.
It's art. It's science. No, it's entertainment. You're going to be entertained. You're going to be entertained by looking at dead bodies. Can you learn something from it? Sure. There's lots of things I can learn from. Is it right to learn from that? I would say no.
But the issues go far beyond just the religious. A 3-month 2020 investigation into the business of bodies tracked the ghoulish process to its origins. From a body processing factory on the German-Polish border to internet sites that offer the plasticized bodies for sale, to this rundown warehouse in Manhattan, where our undercover cameras saw what has been, until now, kept well hidden.
Tell me where the bodies come from. Where do the bodies come from?
All part of a thriving new business, processing human bodies to meet the demands of a growing audience.
A barrier has been broken. And for me, the most frightening part of that is that barrier has been broken here in America.
We first began to look into the business of bodies after we heard what was mistakenly delivered to the people who live in this house outside Grand Rapids, Michigan. The Larmands, who recently moved here from France, had expected a build-it-yourself table, but 2 extra bubble wrap packages came with it.
And I remember turning the package around, trying to see through the bubble wrap paper what was inside.
It was a human head, preserved in plastic.
I dropped everything. I looked at my husband. I said, "Did you see what I saw?"
cancer, ear.
They called the police, who soon discovered the human head had come from China. It was supposed to have been delivered to this company in Traverse City, Michigan, Corcoran Laboratories. When we checked out Corcoran Laboratories, we discovered their astounding website. Not only do they sell human bodies from China online, click here for a price quote, but they also are a supplier for premier exhibitions and part of the worldwide cadaver network.
I mean, think about it. We're going to be walking down Fifth Avenue, and these things are going to be in the window of department stores.
Professor Todd Olson, the president-elect of the American Association of Clinical Anatomists, says his members in New York are boycotting the show.
I would like to know more about where these bodies came from, how they were acquired, and it is amazing to me and every other anatomist in the state of New York who is licensed to have human beings as cadavers on our premises. The laws that apply to us do not apply to them.
And they do not have to meet that requirement?
They do not.
Our investigation found that containers of plastinated bodies have been sent to the U.S. from China through the Port of Los Angeles. And shipping documents obtained by 2020 show how suppliers for premier exhibitions avoid the laws relating to human remains by declaring the human bodies as plastic models. Plastic model for medical teaching.
This is not a model any more than a mannequin is a human being.
We showed the documents to the chairman of Premier Exhibitions.
Right.
You think that's accurate?
Technically, it's accurate, of course.
A plastic model for medical teaching?
You know, I can't debate it with you over and over again. I mean, I
You think
given
that's
you my
accurate?
Statement. That they are plastic models, technically.
To take a deceased person, to subject him to a plastic process of preservation that dehumanizes them to the point that they become a model, that means that I can take Grandma Betty to a plastinator, have her plastinated, put a lampshade on her head and put her in my living room as whatever, because it's no longer a human being. Excuse me, this is a human being.
But Olson says the larger question is, where exactly in China do the bodies on display in New York and elsewhere come from? Who are they, or were they?
These are healthy, robust individuals when they died. These are individuals who died in the prime of their life. My concern is they may be political prisoners. They may be people who have been executed.
So, we went to China to investigate. Stay with us when 2020 returns. Millions of people who have come to see the bodies exhibits around the country. Not everyone thinks they're so great.
When I walked in and I saw that the bodies were Chinese, found out that they were from China, I immediately was suspicious. The Chinese have very, very strong superstitions about death and dying.
And now Fiona Ma is doing something about it.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and members. I am pleased to come before you today to present AB 1519.
She is a leading member of the California State Assembly and the author of a bill that could shut down the biggest of the body shows, unless it can be shown the bodies were donated voluntarily, with informed consent.
As a Chinese, of Chinese descent, I just don't believe that any family would consent to having their kin shown in this way, the skin ripped off, body parts exposed, so that someone else could be making millions of dollars off of looking at them.
And the man who invented the human plastination process to begin with agrees. Dr. Günther von Hawkins, who operates a body factory in the German town of Guben and has made millions himself, says greed has turned the process into something reprehensible.
I am concerned that public exhibitions are hijacked by corporate interests.
Here you just sort of pulled it apart here.
Yeah, this is again...
Showing 2020 around his gruesome operation, from the corpse receiving room to the production line of chemical vats. to the teams of what are called human dissectors. Van Hagen says all the bodies he uses for his shows are from people who have voluntarily consented prior to death, including the man whose head is on display, with its whiskers and skin still intact.
Bill Clinton, actually.
And this one he calls Bill Clinton, once a 76-year-old German bank clerk.
Saxophonist, you know.
One of the thousands of Europeans and Americans who Van Hagen says have donated their bodies for public display.
Isn't he sort of a joke, the way you have him?
I think humor and death should go together.
But what Van Hagen says is not so humorous is how so many bodies have become available in China, including bodies he believes that are those of executed prisoners.
I know that it is quite normal that executed prisoners are used for anatomical purposes in China.
Tears in his eyes, he confessed that he received several of what he came to believe were executed prisoners, bodies he said he cremated and never put on public display.
There is no way for me anymore to work with specimens from China, so I had to distance myself from that.
But the biggest of the body companies, the one running the show in New York, Van Hagen's competitor, Premier Exhibitions, says it knows of no such problems with the bodies it gets from China.
Are you saying all of your bodies are people who died of natural causes?
Absolutely.
Are any of them executed prisoners?
Of course not.
According to Geller and his company's most recent public statements and website publicity, all of the bodies come from the laboratories of a medical university in Dalian, China.
All of the specimens we've used for Bodies the exhibition come from Dalian Medical University plastination laboratories.
The medical university in Dalian?
Yes, the plastination laboratories.
Is that the actual university?
I believe so.
But that's not what we found when 2020 went to China, to the city of Dalian.
Since 2006, it's been illegal under Chinese law to export human bodies or body parts. But our investigation found the bodies continue to be shipped out of here to the United States, thanks to a thriving black market in human bodies.
And at the Dalian Medical University, the school's president flatly denied that his school is providing any bodies for display in the United States, and in a phone call said he had no connection with Premier Exhibition.
You don't provide the bodies?
No.
No, really? Mm-hmm. They say the bodies come from Dalian Medical University.
No. I deny, yes. Not true. It's not true.
And the people you deal with in China, have you been to China to meet them?
Yes, I have.
And you've seen the facilities?
Yes, I have.
And they are who?
Again?
Is there a name you could attach to it?
Yes, I've told you already. It's the Dalian Medical University Plastination Laboratories.
This is the place he's talking about, 30 miles away from the Dalian Medical University, a private company which we found located down a dirt road littered with rotting garbage. We walked in with our undercover cameras rolling to see a set of ramshackle buildings, technicians working on the bodies of both dead animals and humans. The company is run by a professor from the medical university who says the university initially owned 70% of the operation and provided bodies, but has recently pulled out because of bad publicity. Hello? Business still seems to be good. The company has its own shows in China. And in one room, a new set of bodies was being readied for shipment. We showed the tape to Geller.
You've been there?
Yes.
And that looks to you like the Dalian Medical University?
That's the plastination laboratory.
That may be what Geller was told, but the university president says his school has never provided bodies for commercial exhibits, ever.
Where did the bodies come from? Where the bodies they come from?
As the company manager escorted me off the property, he said he had no idea where the bodies come from.
Are they prisoners who have been executed?
No.
You don't know? Who would know that? That's all you can say? You don't know.
Later we heard from the professor who runs the company, who insisted he does not use the bodies of executed prisoners. But that was called into question when we received These photos, the bodies of recently executed prisoners dumped in the snow. They came from a man who admits he was part of the body black market. We met him late at night, and only on the condition his identity be concealed for fear Chinese authorities would put him in jail. The man, who now works for a competitor, says it was his job to pick up bodies, making night runs around China, some of them ending up at universities, and some at the Dalian company that plasticizes bodies for exhibitions. To establish who he was, he produced documents he said he used in his job, and these photos. They were taken, he says, 4 years ago in another city, where the bodies of executed prisoners are essentially sold for about $200. He told us that he took these photos on his first trip, where he was shown what was available. He says he began picking up the bodies on his next trip, but was not able to take them. The chairman of Premier said he was appalled to see the photos and told us his own medical staff had seen no evidence of that, and that his body suppliers assured him his bodies were legally obtained and not those of executed prisoners.
These representations are simple and accurate. There are no executed prisoners. These are all legitimate, unclaimed bodies that have gone through Dalian Medical University.
Have you ever seen pictures like this before?
Absolutely not. I am absolutely appalled by what I'm seeing, and if these can actually be attributed to even the people that we're doing business with, we would have to do something about that immediately.
There is no hard evidence that the executed prisoners' bodies ended up here. But the fact is, Geller's company does not know who these people are or were, only that they came from China and were unclaimed bodies. Authorities in China and the New York Attorney General's office have now both opened investigations into how the bodies were obtained. And legislation introduced by Assemblywoman Ma has passed the California Assembly and is now on its way to the state Senate.
It is exploitation. Someone is benefiting and making money off of these dead bodies, and I think it's our responsibility to ask who these people are.
I see a society that has turned death into entertainment, and thus what was once filled with hope and love and meaning and caring another human being is now just this thing that an audience can be entertained with.
When we come back, two best friends in the wreckage of a plane, but only one little voice calling out. Is the only survivor